Today on Quiet Arena Podcast.
Structure and impact. Those two things should have learned.
Caden Sterns.
This guy keeps talking about this. I'm going to keep talking about it.
How to release hate. When you feel like you're this close, that's not something that you want to hear. Me and God were beefing. That was an awesome opportunity. They really believed in me. But mentally, I knew my mind wasn't where it needed to be.
The stadium is loud, the lights are bright, the crowd is cheering.
I'm a savage. Drop the classic. Thinking back.
But every athlete eventually has to answer one question. What happens next? Because when the arena goes quiet, the real game begins. Welcome to Quiet Arena.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? It is your man, Tony the Tycoon, and welcome to the locker room. You know, I always shout out my man, Coach D. He gave me that name. I got to give credit where credit's due. At one episode, I'm going to stop shouting you out, though, Coach. I mean, at the end of the day, man, you ain't signing no paperwork, bro. But, you know, I'm a good brother. So I'm going to give you your flowers, Coach D. But, yeah, welcome to the locker room. Welcome to the Quiet Arena. Listen, I am excited about today's guest. And before I jump into the read-off, man, I'm excited about today's guest for a couple reasons. One, he's a great brother. Two, you can tell he makes smart decisions because he's a fellow Longhorn. And so we're going to get right into this thing, man. So today's guest is someone who lived on both sides of expectation. From Texas to one of the top defensive backs in the country, 5-star stepping into college with the future already written for him. And early on, he delivered Freshman of the Year, All-American, everything lining up the way it's supposed to. But the game doesn't honor projections. There's injuries that hit, momentum shifts, and the path that once felt guaranteed suddenly disappears. From the NFL to fighting to get back to stepping away from the game at just 25, this isn't just a football story. It's about what happens when the identity you built no longer has a stage, but you continue to press on anyway. So Caden, I appreciate you being here, brother. Welcome to the locker room. Welcome to the Quiet Arena, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you for having me, man. This is a blessing and always good connecting with fellow Longhorns who did it way before me, man, and laid the foundation in the path. So I appreciate you.
Hey, man, no worries, man. And I'm going to take that compliment. We just going to move the word way out of it. We're going to move way out of it. We're just going to say before.
Oh, that's a little shade.
No, it's all good, man. I appreciate that, man. Well, look, let's go back, man. Let's go back before Texas, before the NFL, man. Who was Caden before the game?
Caden before the game was just a kid with aspiring dreams of growing up in Texas. Football was everything. And you know, growing up, it was, you know, from the VY play against USC, it's just something that you inspired to do. So I embraced football from such an early age, and especially in that situation I was in. And it was my getaway, right? It was my way to express myself in a way that you don't really have the opportunity to. And I come from a single parent household early on, and then my mom found my stepfather, who ended up embracing us and showing us discipline and all the things that's required. So, but I'm just a kid from a small town outside of San Antonio, Cibolo, Texas, and I give a lot of credit to where I was from because it taught me so much, and the reason why I am today because of that place and that town. But yeah, football was everything, and a lot of people can relate to that. So as soon as I saw the opportunity that came from it and the love was already there, it was already written. And so I began on an early path of a young age of chasing that dream and making it become a reality.
I love that, bro. Listen, you got to educate your boy, man. Where in the world? I have lived in Texas pretty much, but outside of my playing career, my whole life, bro. Cibolo, Texas, bro. Give me some insight. Take me to Cibolo. What was that like?
Cibolo it started off, it's growing now. It's right outside of New Braunfels, if you heard of it. So it's a little bit.
Yep, I know New Braunfels.
So it's about 10 minutes from New Braunfels. And currently I live in Austin. It's about an hour away south. Just hop on 35 and you'll run into it. And starting off when we first moved there, I moved around a lot. Originally, I'm from Dallas, the South Dallas area. And we ended up over here. I don't know how, but you know, it worked out. So, yeah, it was a small town, very rural area, excuse me. And it was just one of those places that I didn't know what was going on. Very suburb, and now it's just grown into something that it's not even recognizable anymore. So most people ain't heard of it, but it's home to me. So.
Is it similar to Austin to where now you're starting to get a lot of the coastal people, East Coast, West Coast, are starting to push out that way, or is everybody still kind of focused centrally in Austin?
I think Austin is a lot more, is a huge location. Cibolo is a good place because San Antonio is a huge military background. So
Yeah,
we get a lot of people that come in from there. And now it's becoming a place that's really diverse and you get a lot of different people from everywhere. So,
that's pretty dope. So, in my research, man, obviously, I can tell that your mom is your biggest hero, right? And you talked about how she worked multiple jobs. How did that shape the way you approached football and responsibility, early on as a young man?
extremely important just from a couple aspects. And, she did the best that she could, but she was always working. So, uh, my brother and I spent a lot of time being curious. We weren't bad or anything like that, but very much could have went down a path like a lot of people have the same path of going down as well. And so she laid the foundation, and just kind of seeing what she was going through really made me want to aspire and, take care of her. But
Yeah.
then also to give credit to my step pops as well. And he came in and he embraced two kids that weren't his and really laid the foundation of what structured discipline was like and what it takes. A man sticks to the code. He's very scheduled oriented. At 5 p.m. when he comes home from work, he's ironing his clothes just from the little things that it takes to be consistent in life. And so I applied all that and I took the same approach to football. And without them two, man, those are my best friends, my homies, and the people that I want to be able to give back to. So appreciate them. Shout out to them. What's up, Mama? What's up, G?
Yeah, for sure. Like, man, that's so huge, man. It's in the interviews that I've done. There's an underlining theme of individuals who have had strong influences in their life, but I keen in on the different ones that have had strong masculine influences in their lives to be able to help them. And the thing that I keep hearing is that whether it was the father or the uncle or some coach, there was a responsibility and then a discipline. Talk to me about like when G, as you lovingly call him, when G came into your life, how did that change kind of the structure of the home prior to, and what was that adjustment period like of essentially showing love and respect and honor to a man that wasn't biologically your father?
Yeah, really good question. And I would say it started off with things that I didn't like. Yeah, he used to get on my nerves. I'm like, who is this man? Like, he messed up everything. I was able to kind of do not whatever I wanted, but just a structure piece. And I remember very vividly every month he was off on Mondays, and every time I came home, no question about it, I would have to read a book for 30 minutes to an hour. And when I was doing it, I didn't understand why, but he was like, "You'll appreciate me in the long run." And then I fast forward to now, it's just helped so much. And just from the way we speak, just being able to articulate myself in a way that people can understand. And from that part, and then we'll have family forums, is what we call them. We'll sit down and we'll go around and talk about things that we can do better, things that we need to work on, and stuff around the house, or just how we carry ourselves outside the house as well. We'll have dishwashing one-on-one, cleaning the bathroom one-on-one, everything. So I really appreciate it because as a man, it's very less likely to have somebody that teaches you these things to not only be successful in life, but also how to be independent and not rely on other people as well. And yeah, without it, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. That's for sure.
Man, I hear you, bro. For me, it was my Uncle Ernest. Like, my dad wasn't in my life either, but my Uncle E stepped in when I was a young kid, man. And the thing I learned from him is, first of all, commitment. Him and my aunt has been married, bro, for like 30 some odd years, bro. So obviously there's that. So he's a strong man, very disciplined, very structured in how he moved, very consistent, very involved, not just with me, but with everybody within the community, man. So shout out Uncle E, man, when you see this, man. Love you, bro. But that stuff matters to us, especially as we're growing up and we're trying to figure out this thing called life, man. And for you, it's an interesting situation because you get to Texas You're a 5-star recruit. You had a dominant freshman year. I actually remember you playing. You had a freaking phenomenal freshman year.
Yeah.
But what was a part of that journey that people never saw behind the scenes? Some of the struggles and the adjustments you had to make.
A lot. And when I reflect back to my career at Texas, I feel a lot of um, resentment, and not resentment towards anybody, but just myself, because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I felt that looked like. And so for my freshman year, I played well, but I was dealing with a lot of injuries during that time. And I went from being in a high school, my body still wasn't fully developed from, still growing into the person I was. And so my freshman year, I came in and had the privilege of starting right away. And that year, I led the team in snaps, and my body felt a pretty big impact from that. So dealing with that, along with during that time, we didn't have the best coaches as well. And I could have been a pretty, a hothead. I was somewhat of a hothead, and there was things that I wish I should have addressed differently in a different manner. And when I go back to that, I just have a bad taste because my career played out at Texas is not what I really wanted to happen, but I'm grateful for the opportunity as well, just from the relationships, the fan base, and just the University of Texas in general. It's one-on-one. And the things I was going through that killed me, it started my sophomore year. I was dealing with these injuries, but it felt like the coaches at that time, I wish I had Sark, but weren't listening to me when I was saying that I was hurting. It was more like, you're a prima donna is what I got labeled as. And it killed me a little bit because it's like I'm putting in the work and I'm helping, you know what I mean? I put so much effort and time into here, but when I say my body's hurting, you're looking at me differently. And going into sophomore year, the biggest thing that started adversity was the LSU game, right? And I had a lot of history because I was committed to LSU. It was another dream school of mine, and I ended up giving up one of the biggest plays in that game. I didn't play that well, and you see the shift in football. We get caught up a lot in how we view ourselves by how other people view us, from fans to coaches to scouts. It's all about measurables and not who I was as a person. And so a lot of that kind of started messing with me deep down. And especially during a time where you're still a kid, but you're starting to enter an adulthood and how to handle things. It challenged me a lot, and I'm really thankful for it. And so I really had to figure out who I was and still be rooted in that. And I resulted into isolation a little bit in a good way. I think it's necessary because there's a lot of things that I had to deal with career-wise and as a person. And also I had a great support system around me too that prayed over me and still believed in me as well. And yeah, man, I was dealing with a lot, and still the theme of Texas is I should have been a lot better, and not blaming anybody else but me. And I go back and think to how I should have handled a lot of situations differently, and just being unfortunate how I played on the field at times because I expect so much out of myself. And I look back, and being at Texas was one of the most memorable times in my life. And I felt like I took some of that for granted, but you live and you learn. So
yeah. No, absolutely. No, listen, bro, I'm so glad that you're sharing that because, oftentimes when you get on, different shows or anything like that, you see the glory stories, but there's very rarely any times that you're able to see the behind the scenes of what's really happening. And so from a fan's perspective, they're just seeing the final result of all of the sum of the hard work through the week, but they don't know the humanized aspects of things that are taking place. Like if I'm putting everything into this and I'm pouring my body into this work to show you guys that I'm committed, and I'm being received as somebody that's basically calling me soft, like that's prima donna. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, in football terms, we know what that means. Like you're calling me soft for something that I essentially can't control. To me, I look at that in a way of as somebody that's a leader, I'm not doing a very good job really understanding my players, right? Because if I know that I got a guy that's showing me hey man, this guy busts his tail. He goes out there, he puts in the work. He's even trying to get out here when he's injured.
Yeah.
Like that as a leader, I should look at that and say, hey, let me. It's my job now to take care of my players and say, hey, let me make sure that this guy can get back and be as close to 100% as possible.
Yeah.
You know, but that you played during that era, man, where there was some dim light at Texas.
And, yeah, it was a lot, and I appreciate it though. It really challenged me, and in a lot of different ways. Like I said, things I should have been better at, because again, I was very adamant, and I was a leader myself at Texas, and that's one of the most proud things that I could do. And then from the outside looking in during that time, during COVID, there was a lot of things going on, and I was at the tip of the spear, which is okay. I put myself out there, and I stand on what I stand on. But then you see all these influences labeling you as a cancer culture and all this stuff and all this outside attention, and it really challenged me to be where I'm at and know exactly who I am. And the biggest things I can say I'm proud of is the perception on how my teammates viewed me, because I had a C on my chest, and that's something, that's not something that is given easily. That's something your teammates vote on. And so talking to a lot of teammates that I run into and hearing them just kind of appreciate me in different ways. And there's ways I could have been a better leader, right? But also the ways they appreciate me for, standing up for them when it came time to it. It really means a lot. So shout out to all.
Ultimately, we're always learning, man. As like, nobody has the answers. You know what I mean? Like we have the answers based off the experiences that we have, but we're always learning. We're always growing, man. And to be that young, but to be voted a captain, like that should tell you everything that you need to know about how your peers feel about you. And for me, like when it comes to outside influences, I could care less. Like the only thing I care about is what do my guys think about me, man? Do my guys see that I work? Do my guys see that I'm willing to lay it all out on the line? And as long as they see that, then I'm happy.
Exactly.
You with the injuries that you had, man, I want to talk to the mentality that you had to go through to get over some of those things. Like when you're going from this high performance, like we talked about, you having this great year put together, to now fighting to stay consistent mentally and emotionally. What does that look like for you?
It was an everyday process. It was your structure, your schedule changed because you have to get your body used to playing again, right? And when you're young, you can wake up and just go out there and play. And so I started realizing, like in high school, I worked hard, but the recovery and the rest part wasn't there. And I wish I would have knew that faster. So it was getting in the ice tub, doing the little things that allows you to be consistent and not burn out. So, but it was challenging. I remember just vividly after games, like my mom would have to help me to my dorm room because of how much pain I was in. And I just learned, how it is in football, right? You got to do what you got to do. And so whether it got to the league, it was the Toradol or whatever. Now, I'm not saying you should take it, but you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, me too.
Listen, bro.
Yeah, I was off C4 energy drink and Toradol.
Yeah.
But just I commend myself during that process, because no matter what time during the situation of me being injured, I always still had confidence in myself that I could still play at a high level. And just to be able to shake back fast and, take everything with a grain of salt, whether you play well or not. I know I could still sleep well at night, knowing that I left no stone unturned.
Absolutely. No, that's listen, you can only control the controllables, man. I can control the effort that I put into it. I can control my mentality that I put in, that I go into things with, but everything outside of that, I can't control. Which is actually interesting. That's a great segue or lead point to another question that I have for you. Like, obviously you talked about it yourself, about the expectations that you have for yourself, and how you hold yourself to a higher standard than anybody ever can. And you also talked about the sacrifices that Mom made and that G made, and how you wanted to make sure that you can leverage this space, this sport, to be able to help give back to them. So when you get drafted in a space that's lower than what your expectation was, can you walk us through what that process, that draft process, was like, and what I see you shaking your head, so I don't even have to keep asking. Go ahead, I'll let you roll, man. Like, I'm excited to hear this answer.
So I mean, going into my junior year, I was a projected a day two type of guy, and but it came down to, can he play consistent, injuries and stuff like that. And so when after the junior year, when I had all these injuries, but also I got labeled as a guy having character issues, the draft process was very much up and down. And the biggest thing that I was focusing on then was the combine, which was pro day because of COVID, and testing out of this world, but then also killing these interviews and proving the person that I was. And so crush those, and then I go into the draft that I didn't know I did not have no clue where I was going to go. I heard different things from all different teams. Some loved me, some, didn't obviously love me, and it was just a lot of question marks. And so the draft process happens. I knew day one was probably out of the picture, but I was like, day two, okay? And then it didn't happen. And then we get into day three, and I'm sitting there, and I remember I was just couldn't even watch the TV no more. I'm laying like on the ground, and it just felt like I'm just pissed. And I'm like, there's no way that all these dudes are better than me. There's no way. And then your mind just starts spiraling, and you're like, am I even gonna get drafted at all? And my mom said something that resonated with me. Is like, you're not, I couldn't even really remember exactly how she worded it, but she said, you're not I don't know, because my mind was like, special teams was cool, but I always built myself, and I'm like, man, these dudes think I'm a special teams guy getting level. She's like, you're not a special teams guy, you're their guy. And I'm just sitting here, I have my hat over my head, and the next thing you know, I get the call from Denver. And then you feel the relief of it, but then you go in, I'm like, all right, it's time to work. So I proved myself, and that's exactly how I approached it. And in Denver, I think a big part of people's success is the mentorship and the leadership that they have. And I had a lot of great mentorships in Denver that helped me along the way as well. So that process was very much up and down, and I'm grateful for it, though. It was a fun process, and it's once in a lifetime. That feeling that you get from that is amazing. And even watching the draft now, I just smile because these kids or these people, they work their entire lives for this situation, but then realizing that the journey just starts, and that's what you realize.
I think that's the biggest thing. I know that's the biggest thing that I realized when my time came. Is like, okay, you're excited, you're elated, your family is there, but at the end of the day, like, this is the beginning. Like, this is not the end, right? So like, it's the end of the aspect of what you've gone through to get here. That part's done, but now you're here now. So now what are you going to do?
Exactly.
So obviously you go through that. Walk me through, day one, training camp, your experience, all of that. Walk me through that. What does that look like for you? The mentality of like, now I'm about to show y'all who y'all really got, type of thing.
Yeah, and it started off rip. I always dove deep into the understanding of football, and I can sit here and say that when it came to knowing the game of football and just being a smart football player, I was one of them ones when it came to being in the film room, and I wanted to prove that aspect first. And then I also knew very big with the character issues that people labeled me as. I wasn't really necessarily worried about that because I knew what type of human being that I was, and I knew that was going to show itself. But going into OTAs, it was, okay, I got to show up and do everything. Special teams, doing what you don't, not necessarily want to do, but it's part of the process. Yep. And then training camp came around, and I knew what they thought of me. I knew they thought that I could be something special. It was just still that, you have that question mark. I don't want that question mark anymore. So training camp, I came out strong, and I was making plays left and right, left and right, left and right. And I was very fortunate enough to play for Vic Fangio. He's a hilarious dude,
He's a heck of
but
a defensive coordinator, man. Wow.
and he kept it honest with me. I remember we had a joint practice, and I think I got into a fight, and I was messing stuff up. And right before my first preseason game, you're already nervous. He challenged me. He was like, "Hey, Caden, are you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, just excited. Been dreaming about this." He was like, "Okay, well, yeah, you've been doing really well in training camp, but these last couple of days is exactly why you fell to the fifth round. You know that, right? So I'm gonna need you to fit." I'm like, "Whoa!" But I just kind of, you take it with a grain of salt, and you just continue to build from there. And like I said, my mindset was to lean toward the people who did well already and laid the blueprint. And I had Justin Simmons, still a
Yeah.
good friend of mine. He's a phenomenal dude. And then I had Kareem Jackson who did it as well. And then I also had the privilege of having PJ Locke, who I consider a brother to me, um, go along and be a part of the process as well, because we're in very similar situations, and that changed everything. And so my goal was just to simply do whatever I can, and every opportunity that I got, I wanted to take advantage of, and I was able to do that. Unfortunately, the injuries kept going, but
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, man. Like you're on this ride. You're like you say, you're having a great training camp. You're getting noticed. You got the defensive coordinator. He challenged you, but if he's challenged you, he believes in you. We already
yeah,
understand that
yeah,
part. And then then the patella tendon injury takes place.
mhm,
Like,
yeah.
walk me through that emotion, that mindset of now, oh my gosh, here we go again type of situation.
Yeah, so the patella tendon came after I knew I had a pretty significant hip injury as well.
Yeah.
And so when I first got into um, OTAs, my hip started bothering me, and I wasn't going to say anything. And I was like, I need to make a couple plays first. So training camp came around my rookie year, and they're like, yeah, you have hip impingement, whatever. So played the entire year. And unfortunately, I had a shoulder injury that I had to get fixed after that year. So I had to push back the hip injury or the hip surgery. So then dealt with the shoulder, came back, was playing and going to my second year. Justin got hurt. And so I started 5 games and played phenomenal. But my hip was killing me. So then I had to get my hip fixed. And I knew what the third year was coming up to be, which was a contract year and a really breakout year for me. So talking to my agent, David, and then talking to Justin is like, get it fixed. You need to get healthy. And
Yeah.
so I decided to get the surgery and grinded and got back to it. But then there's something that my doctors told me. My hip was degenerating though. It was already, the
Mm.
cartilage in my hip was already going, not going the way it's supposed to be. And I remember I was just, again, not being smart with what I was doing. I was just getting cortisone shots. And I was just like, I want to be on the field. I don't care what it takes. I don't care how my body feels afterwards. This is the goal. This is the objective. And the training camp right before my third year in the league, I am now starting and I'm playing well, but my hip is killing me. So I called my doctor and I'm like, hey, what can I do? What stone can we unturned to make sure that I play as long as I want to play. And he said something to me, and it messed me up a little bit. And he was just like, Caden, how long do you want to play for? And I'm like, question, like, why are you asking me that? That's the dumbest question. And I'm like, as long as I can, forever. And he was like, he signed a little bit, and I was like, uh-oh. Like, he was like, Caden, I'm gonna do everything in my ability to get you there. But if you were my son, I would tell you it's not worth it. And I'm like, what? And so I call my mom and I'm like kind of tearing up because that's not something that you want to hear, especially when you feel like you're this close. Like you can feel
Yeah.
your breakout year coming and you're playing well, but deep down it's something that might prevent you. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna put that in the back burner and get ready for the season. And so during that time as well, I was also dealing with somewhat of the politics of the league of I was starting, but I was co-starting. And I remember they came up to me and told me, and I was like, look, I'm not going back to playing like every other play. It's not happening. Like I already showed you what I'm capable of. If I'm not starting, then I'm gonna go somewhere else that sees the value in me. Mind you, I'm still doing with that. Then the first game of the season, I tear my patella tendon. And that's when I knew I felt kind of that dream fading away, and it crushed me. And I wasn't concerned what was wrong with my knee. I knew it wasn't good, but I was more thinking about it's like my life flashed before my eyes. And everything that got me to that moment from Little League to there, it felt like it was ending. And it sent me down a dark hole, and it sent me to a place that I wouldn't want most people to go to. But it's part of the process. And during that time, it felt like I lost everything at once. I lost a place that I really loved, Denver. I lost my home. I lost my job. And then some relationships that I truly valued during that time, I felt like I lost that too. And then in the midst of that, you're trying to, you get released. And how I got released was it caught me off guard. Not to say I didn't think it wasn't going to happen, but I thought I got caught in the business part of it. And how they did it was, I thought it could have been done better, and it could at least gave me a heads up. And it really kind of pissed me off a little bit. But then I ended up going to Carolina, and I failed a physical in Carolina. And everybody was like, how the hell do you pass a physical in Denver, but you don't pass it in Carolina? Like, something's going on there. And so failed the physical. Then I ended up in Philly back with Vic Fangio, and it was an awesome opportunity. They really believed in me. And they're like, we know what you can do. You're just going to be here and get healthy. But mentally, I knew my mind wasn't where it needed to be, and my body wasn't where it needed to be. So I decided to step away and go get healthy. And I knew there was a chance that football may not be in the picture no more, but I still decided to take that risk because, more importantly, my quality of life as far as how I was moving from day to day was shot. It was shot, and my hip was no cartilage in my hip. My doctor said I had an 80-year-old hip if he didn't see. So I was like, dang. Mind you, I'm dealing with the knee injury, so I'm like, dude, I can't move like this. And so found a doctor who did a surgery. I got a partial hip replacement. I'm not proud of it, but it's more for like athletes. A lot of hockey players get it. And immediately I was like, I'm taking that opportunity. Does it give me a shot to play? He was like, yes. So I took it, spent time in New York, and then went to AZ and trained. But it was a daily battle of just waking up every day, because at the end of the day, I didn't know what that was going to look like, if I was going to have another shot or not. And it was a hard process, but it definitely made me a better person. And then when I decided to, officially retire, it was more because it was like, look, like I didn't want to. I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I learned the skills and the traits and characteristics that I learned from this journey in football itself. Let me apply this to something else and still have that same impact. And so that's what led me here.
Man, that is such man. These are the stories, and I'm so thankful, bro, that you're sharing your story, man. These are the stories that so many people need to hear, because like this is more in alignment with what you see, in the space of the NFL. Like, I know the draft is happening. Everybody is excited. Like, Coach, you gonna get a dog out of me, man. I promise you. I get it, bro. That's the emotion. But, like, the game don't care about that. You know what I mean? Because you can go in with all the intention of wanting to be the best player that you could possibly be. And there's just certain things that's outside of your control. There's just certain things in the stars that, like, hey, this is the path for you. Maybe the path was you were supposed to touch it and to see it, but that's a platform that you use to move on to the next thing. For some people, it's, hey, no, for you, bro, you're going to be the best of the best to ever do it in this game. And that's great. We all have our own paths, man. But, like, to hear, like, what you put your body through, what you put your mind through. You're like 20-something years old, bro, with a hip replacement. Like, that's crazy.
And it makes you, like you said, it just challenges you. And that's exactly why I felt, I've been in isolation. I'm a very chill person, out of the way, but I felt like sharing my story, and not because, any other reason of, the person I think I am or whatever. I just think there's so many different lessons that people can benefit from, because it is real and you see it all the time. And not to bring it up, but just like different situations with players that were good, and you see them, going down a path that you don't want them to go down, and eventually taking their own life and doing all that. And so when I see that, it's because I resonate with that, and not saying that it got to that extent for me, but I can understand how it does, and people don't understand that, and it's just crazy, and it, it's a process. It's definitely a process, and when you're in the moment exactly, like when I was just thinking about it, it's just like, why is this happening to me? I feel like a failure, right? And I feel like I'm not valued, I'm not worthy because I put my whole identity into this one thing versus looking at it as a lesson. Like this is a lesson for me and that I want to teach my kids or just anybody who wants to learn on, just being successful at life. And because like you said, life isn't, it's not as cupcakes and rainbows, man. Life is hard. Life is unforgiving. And football is the same way. And the way I can either accept it and learn from it and move on and make it as beautiful as I want to, because that's the purpose of life to me, is to experience all the, the downsides of what it takes during the journey, all the adversity, and making something beautiful of that. Those end up being the best stories and what life's all about.
Man, it's well said, bro. Well said. Like, one of the things that I've been studying, and I know people that when they watch the different episodes, say, "Man, this guy keeps talking about this." I'm going to keep talking about it. But there was a psychological study done on athletes. The premise is called the athlete identity foreclosure. Mm-hmm. And what it is it's when you as an athlete at an early age lock in on whatever your sport is and align that with that being your identity, so that when you are all in on it, like most of us are, when it's removed from us, it's almost as though you've experienced a death. And so you walk around not really knowing, having any clarity of life. Your identity has been, your quote unquote identity has been removed, and you have no purpose. You feel as though you have no purpose, which causes a lot of the depression, a lot of the financial aspects, a lot of the divorce rates. The divorce rates for athletes are like 2 times as high as the national athlete. I think the divorce rate in America is like 40%. Athletes is like 70-80%.
Crazy.
Like, all of this, man, is because these are the things that happens when the warrior is removed from the arena. Yeah. And you talked about like being in dark places. Can you walk me through like what were some of the things that you were dealing with during that 2-year gap of wanting to get back? Because 2023 is when you said, okay, I got to step away, but you retired in 2025. So that's a 2-year gap. What was that 2-year space like?
Well, yeah. So in 2023 was the injury, so rehab. So 2024 is when I got released and decided to step away, I believe.
Yeah.
And so that gap was long. I lost myself. I really did, because exactly like you said, is I've done this thing for my entire life, and it was how I viewed myself. And there was so much hate in my heart, and so much in a way where I would say somewhat envy from people that I cared about. Not to say I was jealous of them, but jealous of what they were able to do and still play. That it became a point to where I couldn't even watch football anymore. Like I couldn't watch it because it just brought these negative emotions in me. And so I just really isolated myself and worked on myself, whether that was reading and just really spending time with what did I like doing outside of football. And so my time in Arizona, I was able to do that while still training, but I spent so much time just knowing myself because I didn't know myself. And it's a painful process. And I'm a person that likes it, as uncomfortable as it is. I like dealing with these things that came from my childhood that I really wasn't able to really dissect and dive deep into because I was so focused on football, right? Like everything. And so we learn us football players or athletes learn how to compartmentalize and not deal with things. So it gave me that time. And it was one of the most uncomfortable situations in my life. But then it got to a point where I was okay with, if football does not work out, I know that I'm going to figure this out in general in life because of who I am. And it just really challenged me. And I think back to it, it was one of the most hardest times in my life because you're entering adulthood for real now. It felt
Yeah.
like because football is a kid's game, and it it felt like I was starting from ground zero again, to the point where a lot of my high school friends that I grew up with, I started feeling like I was behind because I didn't experience as much. A lot of them were married, a lot of them were doing, and you start kind of comparing yourself that way. And I was like, man, I got to catch up. But in reality, I looked at it and kind of reframed my process and felt like, no, I'm a kid again. I get to figure out and explore what I want to do and what is my purpose now, right?
Mm.
It's shifting that. So it was a journey, but much needed.
When you think about that journey that you were on, and you're going through that discovery period, what were some of those layers that you start to unravel to where you say, you know what, here are the things that I work on so that I can start building. Here are the things that I release so I can start healing and moving forward.
I think I had a released hate in my heart and that resentfulness that I had, not just towards football, but things from my childhood, whether it be, my relationship with my father, my biological father, that I really wasn't aware that I was carrying, but I was carrying it. And so I had to learn to let that go. I had to learn to let what happened to me go and start practicing being grateful of the past, the fact that I was able to, you know, play football that long, going to the University of Texas, playing in the NFL, and being able to play at a high level. It's truly a one-on-one experience. And then looking at being grateful of where I'm at now, right? And I really had to practice that because when I left and went to Arizona, it was like I didn't feel like I was making the progress. Like I was just being impatient. But then I was like, all right, let me look at where I came from. I couldn't even walk, a year ago how I wanted to, or run, or do anything. And so just being grateful of where I was at in the present moment, and also being grateful for the opportunity that lies ahead. So I had to really practice and dive into my faith, because during that time too, me and God were beefing. We were beefing. And I remember vividly, like, I got hurt. My mom was in the locker room with me, and I'm crashing out, like crying. And she told me, and she was like, God's got you. He's praying. And I'm like, he's not listening. He's not listening. He's not answering. So during that time, I really made it a point to figure out, like, why, like, or not why, but understand the bigger purpose in this. And it's one of those things where it's like, what you don't understand now, you eventually will.
Yeah.
And I'm at that point. And so just letting go of all that negativity, and not saying that it doesn't still enter my mind, but channeling into focusing on the positive and being optimistic about life that lies ahead. Because I looked at football, well, I can't play anymore, but just the other beautiful parts of life, finding a wife, getting married, having kids, being a good father, and getting into the business world. You know what I mean? So many different ways that life has to offer, that I need to be excited for. And if I let this one moment dictate everything, it's just, what example am I setting for my kids, or just for anybody that looks up to me?
That is so important, that you've been able to make that shift and that perspective change. I often talk to many different individuals, whether they're corporate executives or military or athletes. And the biggest thing that I find that's similar with all of them is, what do I do when it's done, right? That continuation process, because they've done this thing for so long that, they don't, how do I do something different? And so the thing that I start to see with them is they first start looking into, like what you talked about, gratitude. Let me be grateful for the experiences that I had. Then they start to change their perspective. And once the gratitude and the perspective is in alignment, then they start looking into finding their purpose. And they usually find something that rewards them more than the thing that they were doing before, because some of them come to a realization that, hey, I was doing this honestly because I was good at it. Did I like it? Yeah, but I wouldn't say that I was passionate about it, right? Yeah. And so it's like, man, you when you retire from something, it's like you can look at it as, okay, I'm retired and I'm done, or like, man, I still have this much life left, look at all of these different things that I can
Yeah.
explore and get after, you know what I mean? And put that same drive and thought process into it. I talk to a lot of kids too, man, and I'm often telling them like, look, don't allow the sport to be who you are. Just allow it to be what you do, and do what you do at a high level. Do it well, but understand that don't attach your identity to it. I've seen where you've done some speaking things as well. When it comes to athletes, what do you see that the athlete is doing that you believe that they're not prepared for? You know, when that moment comes when the game is going to leave them.
Ask that one more time to make sure I process that right.
Yeah. So like thinking about, I ask it this way: like, what do you feel athletes aren't prepared for when their identity is so closely tied to the game, knowing that at some point the game is going to leave them?
Yeah. What they're not prepared for. I think your structure changes. You're right. Like you're so used to being on this routine, and
Richard
then it's
playing.
stripped from you. And I do know that no matter what industry or what you do, structure is important, right? Having your day kind of built out for you, and so now you have to reinvent that yourself because without it, I know I felt like I didn't have a purpose. I didn't feel productive, right? And having structure is kind of one of the big like main foundations I feel like. And again, I think it just goes back to purpose.
Yeah.
Like what is your purpose outside of football? And it shouldn't. And if you look at what drives you to do and pursue football at a high level, it should be the same thing outside of football. And I know for me, a big reason why I did what I did was impact, like having impact on people, right? Like kids, or just giving people that memory of the interaction that they may have had of me, whether it was, times where it's like, Caden, I remember that play against USC, you blocked, just something like that, to just a simple conversation with me. And so those two things should align. I think it's structure and impact, like, because it looks different now, right? It looks a lot different from, you're no longer in a locker room. Those relationships that you have, they shouldn't change, but it just looks a lot different. And when you don't have those two things, it just, for me personally, it just made me feel like I was not maximizing my purpose or what I'm here to do as a person. And so it's just kind of shifting that, like you said earlier, it's just shifting that into something new, because you've done something for so long and it's all you know. It's hard to detach. It's hard to detach from that. And so you gotta start from ground zero again, and that's very hard for athletes to do.
Well, I like what you said, starting from ground zero. Again, I think it goes back. I don't think. I know it goes back to the perception, like, because for a coach, some of the greatest players you can get are those that come in a blank slate, because that means that you can mold them. If you look at it from a standpoint of retirement for athletes, it's like, hey, if you view this differently and say, okay, yeah, I'm done with this thing, but there's so many other opportunities out here for me that I haven't even explored. I want to go on. I want to be curious. I want to go on an exploration. I want to learn more things, which is for me one of the reasons. Not only did I start the podcast to talk about the transitional athlete, but also to learn from other people that are doing other things. You mentor people. You talk about your story. You're in a situation of transition. What are you building right now that you're excited about?
Yeah, well, I ended up, as I was going through that process, I was also trying to prepare what I want to do outside of football. And I knew it was still something that was going to be beneficial and still accomplish the same goals. And so I ended up coming across life insurance. And at first, it was something that was completely new to me at all. Like, it wasn't even in my mind at all. And so I kind of looked at it with like a question mark, like, okay, well, you know what I mean? Like, you hear all the commercials and stuff or whatever. So then I got into doing research. I'm very adamant on doing research and learning the industry and anything that I do. And I realized how important it was and how people can use it as a tool, as a financial tool. So it found me. And once I realized that, first and foremost, I was like, dang, I could have been doing this for this long, but also taking that and teaching people as well, because it still has that impact, right? And a lot of people talk about these encounters that you have with clients or these people that are looking for it. And it can be a very morbid subject, very down, but just being somebody that people can talk to and you can help in that situation, it just means a lot. So that's kind of the path that I'm on right now. And so what I'm doing right now is eventually, have a Instagram page or channel in general, just educating the importance about life insurance, but then also eventually trying to teach them about how you can use it as a financial tool for yourself as in your family as well.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, we talked a little earlier, man, but shoot, I'm a big advocate of the insurance space. Like, I tell this story about how, and I'm rubbing my eyes like this now because I'm like, bro, if woulda, shoulda, coulda, man, you know what I mean? When I read this illustration, I said, let me just put the earnings that I made in the playoff games in the Super Bowl. Let me combine that and put this into this software, and then let me see what would have happened from the time I started to the time I retired. So it would have been like, at that point, it would have been like 7 years.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, it came back. I would have been receiving like, I don't know, like $120,000 a year, plus it continues to grow, of tax-free income. I was like, bruh, tricked it off.
Yeah,
Tricked
makes
it off.
it's one of those things you don't think about when you're playing, right? And
Yeah.
I was just like, look, my job is football. My financial advisor's job is to manage
money.
that.
Yeah.
And the first financial advisor I had, actually, my new financial advisor, he's a dog, and he's here in Texas, so really good guy. He helped me a lot through that process. But you start learning to, now where I'm at is like, all right, instead of him handling everything, let me start figuring this out myself to collaborate in what I feel right is for me.
Correct.
And, but yeah, it makes you sick because it's like, wow, like this is something that's been around for a long time, life insurance, and it's been one of the most stable industries across any time period, from the Great Depression to 2008 to in 2021, 2022, when the markets were going bad as well. These people that, they're wealthy for a reason, put their money into, they didn't really feel the effects of it because they're just always a step ahead. And so then I realized how a lot of banks have a lot of their assets in life insurance. And so you're like, oh, I'm starting to pick it up. I'm starting to realize, okay, let me get on this bandwagon, but also, again, help people to figure out the same thing. So, because it's like two birds with one stone. You can use it as a financial tool, but also it's generational. When you do pass away, it's a lump sum of money that's there for your family, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even about the money, but it's about something being there during an already hard time with dealing with somebody that's passed away. So to me, it's the two birds one stone. And I'm like, man, like where is the disconnect? Because why haven't I heard about this? And why is it that most people don't get it? And then it's realized because of how the industry is kind of viewed, right? Yeah. It can look a little suspect or scamish, like I thought. I'll just call it how it is. I thought it was scamish. And then you understand it's not the product or the things itself, it's the people who are relaying the message.
Correct. Right? Yeah. No, that's spot on, bro. That's spot on. I love how you said that, man. It's an industry, and I won't dive deep into it, but it's an industry that I appreciate. When I learned the difference between, assets, like you have, real estate obviously is your asset. It's your physical asset, right? You can feel it, you can see it, you can touch it, it produces. I love real estate as well. You have the market. I'm not against the market. What I am not for is I'm not for putting my principal into a risky space. So any returns that I have, I would do what you want to do with that, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's my baby. I got to protect my babies, right? But I view insurance as a buffer asset, meaning that it's not about high yield returns. It's about principal protection, liquidity, and being able to have a consistent return from it, so that if all else fails on this side, which was you talking about the wealthy people, on this side, I still have what I need, the chassis, to rev up the engine back again. So that's what I teach people with my side. But I love what you're doing, man. We always have a signature question, Caden, and I'm going to say this, man. I appreciate your story so much, the alignment of it. Like, I was excited to get you on because of when I was going back into your story and doing my research, and I was seeing how everything was going. I was like, man, this is why I built the platform, for people like this to be able to tell like the other side of it, bro. And like, you were just a great candidate. I know you're going to do great things in the space of business. You know what I mean? You just have that resilience. And I seen a couple of your social media clips, man. You're a funny dude. So I saw that you just started your page. You already got almost 100 people following you. I'm like, that's not by accident, man. You're a charismatic and funny guy, man.
Appreciate that.
But we have this question that we always ask. It's our signature question. So when the arena goes quiet, what part of you remains that the game could never take? And what are you building with it now?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question.
Shout out to my team. I can't take credit for that one. My team got it.
Great question. I would say just being a warrior, it just shifts now. And it's everything that I learned, nothing's changed. I still believe in myself as far as who I am on the field. And that's what I mean, like the characteristics and the principles that I learned from that, it's still all in here. Now I just got to utilize it and channel it in a different direction, right? And that warrior aspect is still a part of me. I'm resilient. I learned how to bounce back. And when it comes down to it, when all hell breaks loose, I'm gonna still be standing as the man that I am. So that's definitely what goes with me, even though I'm no longer in the arena.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate it, man. Well, you might not be in the arena, but you in this arena, brother. And I appreciate you for being in the locker room, man, for sure. Look, where can the people find you? Any plugs that you want? Go ahead and do all of that, man, and we'll sign on up out of here, brother.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can go ahead and follow the personal account if you want. C Sterns on Instagram. Starting to post more. I was in my little den. I like, you're the Tycoon. I like to go by the wolf. I was in the lone wolf.
Yeah, all right. The lion and the wolf, bro. I'm with it.
Now it's time to, build my pack and my community of people I can help. And so Instagram, and then the only legacy education to learn about life insurance in the most simplest way, to make it entertaining, empowering, and also educational. And then stay tuned, because there's more to come with that as well. I also have a coffee business on the side called Grindwell Co. So tune into that as I get more and more involved into this business space. So outside of that, you can find me in Austin, Texas. Hook 'em.
Hey, the man knows. I love it. Well, listen, for everybody, I appreciate you guys tuning in today, man. As you can see, why I was so excited to have this young man on. He's doing a lot of things, shows a lot of resiliency. He's going to keep doing that. And y'all make sure that y'all follow him. And as always, if you are an athlete or know athletes that are going through that transitional space, make sure you go over to the quietarenapodcast.com, and you can click on the resource button, and there you'll be able to see what to do when it's done, navigating life after the game. You can go ahead and get that. And then also, we have the school community that I'm excited to announce, the Athlete Circle. So the school community is there as well. If you're just looking to continue to educate yourself in the entrepreneurial space, the finance space, or just life in general, we've started that community for you guys as well. So appreciate you for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. And as always, it is your man, Tony the Tycoon. I'm out.
Living legend, lethal weapon, mastermind, never tried, tell them all.